Hello, everyone. Welcome back to an episode of Shouting into the Void, the weekly series where myself and Liam, I think he's over there, talk about Doctor Who. Yay!
Yes.
Specifically New Who, so from 2005 onwards. Almost every week for the past 18-ish months, we've been going through from
So
series
long.
1. Now we're at series 5, episode 2, The Beast Below. This is Matt Smith's second full episode. Karen Gillan's first trip in the TARDIS as Amy Pond. They arrive at Starship UK, which is, I guess, just England, Wales, and Northern Ireland on a big floating spaceship because Earth die.
Earth die now.
And that's about it. And basically, there's some confusion. Why isn't it acting like a real ship? You know, there's no engine, sound, or vibrations, which is a big why is nobody caring about this? There's a queen involved. There's children involved. And there's robot people. Robot? I guess they're robots. Robot / cyborg people involved.
Yeah, both.
Yes. And yes, I think this episode was okay. It wasn't better than I thought it was going to be, but it wasn't as bad as I remember it being. But
No.
for me, I think it was just kind of, I think the best way I can describe it is flat, if that makes sense. What did you think of it?
I kind of agree. Yeah. It's run of the mill. Nothing outright offended or annoyed me, which is nice. But yeah, nothing really captured my attention significantly either. I don't think it does anything wonderful, but I also don't think it's the worst thing I've ever seen by a good stretch. I think it's just a bit too overloaded, I think, with ideas for its runtime. And therefore, I think it gets bogged down in them and it isn't able to maybe resolve them in a way that's like it would then pack a punch. I feel like it tries to pack a punch but doesn't quite land it. So I applaud the effort, but I do think it's kind of a run-of-the-mill average affair in the end.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think just, it was getting towards the end of the episode where I was like, I don't really feel like there's anything riding on any of this. I feel like we're just going to get to the end and be like, okay, bye. And we effectively do. There's like a nice twist there, which makes it a nicer ending than what it could have been. But it still feels like, oh, okay, nothing else would have changed if they were there or not, really.
Yeah, it's a decent watch, I think, but it's nothing spectacular.
No. Well, we'll get into our positives and negatives now. As always, we do 3 positives and 3 negatives each. I will almost definitely stick to those 3 this week because I found it quite hard to pick out some positives. Not because like everything was terrible, but because nothing was good enough.
Nothing stood out
to be positive. Yeah. I'll start with my first one. It was the twist of the star whale. I guess this is twofold. First of all, that it's the star whale that's flying it. I think that was a cool thing that it was like on the back of this massive thing. And then the twist that there was the secret option of, hey, let's just stop beating it up and it stays, which I quite liked. I thought that was a nice twist, although I wouldn't necessarily believe it. Because I know that if I'd been tortured for 100 years, I would not be sticking around.
No, I've been pissed off.
Hey, sure, if the star whale wants to do that after that, fine.
We're not kind folks. So.
No. So yeah, I think they're both nice ideas and they're both good twists. And you can't necessarily see them coming, especially the one where it's like, oh, it will stay. Amy's obviously taken a big gamble on that, thanks to a man that she's known for a day.
She's known him for 14 years, but sure.
Well, she's known of him for 14 years. She's known him for a day. But yeah, I think it all sort of pays off, I think, and it's a nice ending rather than the whole I'm going to make this animal brain dead so that more people can live, which I appreciate. And it definitely, I think it's tricky because it still didn't feel like there was enough there to see that coming throughout the episode. There was no like hints that it had done this. It all came at the end.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is why it hits as much, but I like the idea, I think is the problem. But as often with Doctor Who, the ideas don't necessarily go well with the execution, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Never mind. What's your first positive?
Well, I'll go with my second positive because it's what you just said. It's the reveal of the Star Whale. And what's going on with that, and like the whole resolution with it, with Amy's thinking behind it. It's the first speech about, when you're that old and kind and the very last of your kind, you can't stand to watch children cry and all that because they had the Doctor do it. At the start of the episode, and we had a brief flash of him with young Amy as well. So I like that they kind of tied that together and the parallels between the Doctor and the Star Whale. I thought it was a nice way of kind of resolving things because there needs to be a resolution at some point. And I suppose they didn't want the Doctor to murder this creature in his second episode in this new incarnation. So, I guess that's fair. And also maybe not have everyone on the starship die either. That would be a bit of a bummer ending to, Amy's first trip in the TARDIS properly. So, I can see why they went with this ending. I think it worked out a lot nicer this way. And I did enjoy that reveal. I thought it was a good idea, the whole Star Whale thing and having it be the last of its kind. Humans are the monsters after all, as we all know. So we just tortured it for no reason for hundreds of years. But, kindness wins out in the end. I think that's a big thing. Certainly we get to Capaldi's Doctor about being kind and stuff, so I think they're very much sowing the seeds of how, this era and how Moffat views the Doctor as a character quite early on here. That's kind of sowing the seeds for that, which I do enjoy. But yeah, I think it is a neat reveal. It would have been cooler to have, I think, a few more hints towards that. Because as far as we're aware, it opens up the episode with that ginger boy getting eaten. So we think like, oh, well, that kid's dead. But then it's revealed that he's not. But there's no really hints that that boy is alive because they keep forgetting it, obviously. So I guess it's hard for there to be hints to it when everyone's forgotten, so they can't hint at it. But I think there could have been a better build up to that. And maybe a bit more time spent afterwards kind of properly wrapping it up. You could tell this episode's only 41 minutes because it did kind of feel that way in its pacing. It flew by, really. But yeah, I love that reveal. I think it was really cool. I like how they tied it to the Doctor's character. And yeah, I liked, how Amy's speech was written with like her whole realization moment. So
yeah. I think that's fair. And these are positives. I know we keep criticizing our positives, but they are positives, I swear. Or we just have concerns. But my second positive, which I'm going to have concerns about anyway, but it's the whole Starship UK concept and idea of that. I think that's a really neat thing that isn't explored as much as it could have been. It's the whole Coruscant of Star Wars where there's so many stories that you could tell and you could do, but we don't really get to see that. It's the idea that there's so much there that you could be exploring, but unfortunately we get stuck with effectively the highest level of people in this place. We don't see the real people. We kind of get a hint towards that with the children, but one child is effectively killed for what we know until the end, and there's no like parents being like, oh, where's my son? So that's not very good.
It would need to be a very different story for us to see what Starship UK is like, and that probably would have been better. It's like spending like Bad Wolf Pint Ways on the space station, and we never see like what this new Earth is like the Doctor's made. It's one of those kind of deals, I think. Yeah, it's a shame.
Basically. And while I did like the whole idea of you're forgetting what is powering the ship because you don't want to die, it's a very selfish thing. I just like the whole idea and concept of that, and I would, if I had sort of one request, I would want to go back to Starship UK just to do a different story.
They should definitely do that now with Brexit.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's
This is definitely a very non-political episode. So I don't know what.
There's no politics in Doctor Who.
That's true. There's definitely no politics in Doctor Who, and there's none in this one either. No, definitely nothing about this one that could be political whatsoever. But yeah, I do like the idea. I would like to see more of it. Because there is so much that, and as with a lot of locations in Doctor Who, there's so much more that you could do. And I'll leave it there before I start going down the rabbit hole of but this, but that. But I did really like the idea. There we go.
Are you sure?
Yes, I liked the idea. What they did with it, we might come on to, but I like the idea.
It's the most Doctor Who thing anyone could ever say, isn't it?
Right,
I
basically.
like the idea, but
It really is. It really is. So what is your first/second positive?
yeah, technically my first, but also my second. The Smilers and the Winders.
They're my third. Yeah.
I love those smiley, frowny boys. I've always really enjoyed their design. Not enough characters wear purple robes, is what I say. Just the whole concept of like they're constantly turning heads, but they actually have like three faces, even though there's two sides to their head, and they're robots. I guess they can just do that. Why not? And yeah, just the design of them, I think, is really cool. I like how they're integrated into like the whole system of Starship UK, because obviously have them in the classroom and stuff. But then they're also more a governmental influence as well, like when they kind of break out of their booths. I love that joke. Just completely underestimates them, and there they are. So yeah, it's little hints like that, I think, is what makes the whole Starship UK thing frustrating, because they offer hints like that, and you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting, like how the classroom system works. You get the slightest hints like of the outside world and like what it is like to live there as like a regular citizen. But then
like you need like stamps or something to use like an elevator or something like that. You need to get obviously a good grade to go home.
A 0 if you're bad at school. You could potentially be eaten by a whale, which I guess is a decent system. Why not?
Good incentive.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I love the design of them. I think they're really cool. And then having the Winders as well, so like half human, half Smiler people. That's neat. Again, do they really need to be half Smilers? Do they really add anything to that? No, it's just to make the people in black robes a bit more interesting, I guess. But I do think design-wise and stuff, particularly like the super frowny red eye faces, I think they look really cool. I remember them being in the promotion for Series 5 quite a bit, so they have stuck in my mind ever since. And there's a lot of merch for all the Smilers and stuff as well when Series 5 was coming out. So I just think they're neat. So yeah, really cool design. I like their kind of role in the episode as well. I don't think you could do much more with them than they did, because at the end of the day, they're just basically robots. But yeah, I think they're a cool design. I think they're one of the more unique original villains, or at least creatures, that Series 5 offers up to us. So I enjoy them.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think it is one of Moffat's strongest points is uniquely designed villains. Whether that's the Weeping Angels or the Gas Mask people, the Silence coming up next series. I think these are another one that are very interesting for sure. They look great. You don't really think they're a threat, but just the fact that they're effectively watching you the whole time is sinister in itself. And they're not like, it's also the fact that they're not necessarily evil. They're just doing a job that they're being programmed to do by the government effectively. How dare the government have this kind of evasive Overwatch system? Oh,
I know, right?
I don't know. But yeah, very creepy. And I guarantee you, if those things were being enforced in the pandemic, nobody would have refused to mask.
It's probably true, actually. Yeah.
It is true. I can guarantee it.
Yeah.
they would just imagine looking out your window and seeing one of them just staring back at you would be horrifying.
Yeah. 0 chance of survival.
Exactly. Oh, horrible. Especially because they are used to like feed the beast, because they say that just the whale just doesn't eat the children. So it eats the other people. It eats the adults perfectly fine. So yeah, that's also the sort of sinister undertone. Whereas if you protest, it's like, well, you're getting eaten, boy.
Goodbye.
But yeah, so what is your final positive then?
My final positive is the exploration of the Doctor's headspace and like why he needs a companion. I like that they kind of reinforce that idea, because he's very blinded in this one, particularly because it's a creature that is the last of its kind, like him. That's always going to cause him to go down a bit of a spiral. So Amy, being on the outsider that she is to this whole situation, and kind of see what the Doctor's like, she recognizes similar patterns of behavior in the star whale. She can save the day, whereas he's quite blinded to that whole kind of thing. I thought that was interesting to kind of show why the Doctor needs someone, as has been kind of reminded to us a few times, but especially with like a new era and stuff, and maybe people tuning in for the first time with this new era. It's a good kind of point to have that, especially when it's the second episode with this new Doctor. I think it's kind of good to check in with how his mind's working now. He had the whole regeneration buzz craziness in his first one. Now he's kind of settled down a bit, getting a proper idea of like what this guy's like. So I just liked that they challenged him quite a lot in terms of his morals in his first like full outing once he's kind of all settled down and stuff. So just kind of examining, why he needs some help sometimes and why he can't necessarily be the hero he needs to be, why he has to sometimes just make these hard choices, just like make this whale a vegetable, for instance. And while there is another way of doing that, and it's a great reminder, I think, that this guy's not human. He doesn't necessarily think like a human sometimes, especially when he's gone through everything that he's gone through. So I thought that was a nice bit of kind of character exploration for 11 there.
Yeah, and it's the whole thing that obviously gets nailed in like some office work where it's like, oh, always get somebody to check over your work because they might see something you've missed, and that's effectively what the companion is for the Doctor. They will see the same thing, but they might see a different route, which the Doctor might have missed. They might have been sort of blinded by something. Obviously, in this aspect, it is because he feels like he's the whale. If that makes sense.
He's an angry boy.
Yes, and I'll come on to sort of that. I get his reaction, but I think for me, some things are overdone. I think some aspects, but I get why he's annoyed at the situation. But I'll come on to that in a bit. Have you got any other positives? Unfortunately, I don't.
Wow, why do you hate the Zero? Why do you hate Moffat?
I know, right?
I mean, we already know this, but it's fine. I like some of the visuals in the episode. It's my extra additional one. I love the shot of Amy like floating in space. I think that looks really cool. Like the look of the starship and how it's all presented. I do think it's like I could realistically see this being like a settlement in the future. And like the orange lighting in the whole tongue sequence, which is iconic. So I think there's some really cool visual stuff in this episode as well.
Yep, that's fair. I do like the style of obviously with the Starship UK. I do like how it all looks and sort of the fact that it's sort of like regressed back a bit, so it's easier for things to go. Similar to Waters of Mars, where it's very simple and things like that, but enjoyable. I did like it. That's unfortunately the end of our positives for this week. We will now go on to the negatives. Which is a shame. My first one, and I think I sort of hinted at this before, is it all felt a bit inconsequential. Effectively, we end the episode with everyone on the ship safe, whale is fine, government continues as is, Queen stays in power, children fine, Amy and the Doctor leave. I feel there could, even if it's just a line of like the Naismith line from End of Time where, he's been arrested, crimes against whatever, I feel there should have been some kind of, I don't know, backlash or consequence for the people in power that had been torturing a thing for 300 years.
Yeah, I wish I could have seen it, because we do have like when she gives her mask back and like gives it to Amy, gives the Doctor, and he's like, no more secrets in this government now. But I wish we had got a scene with them.
Even if it was just on like a screen where she was giving a speech or something, I don't know. It just
especially
felt like
given we see Liz 10 again in Pandora opens.
Yes, and she seems like she's in just like some weird like ruin place when I think she's just supposed to be on the ship. I don't know, but it would have been good to have some kind of impact. I think it's very, and that's what I meant by this episode just feels a bit flat. Is that there's just no end impact really of you've been foiled, because there wasn't really anything. There was no villain plot effectively. It was just morally grey. But
government's covering stuff up, which they never do.
No,
so
they're silly. God, no. But yeah, I just wish there was some sort of consequences for the people that had done this, especially even from the Doctor. Like, he's punished people for less, I would say. But what can you do? What's your first negative?
Too many ideas. So I think therefore some of the conclusions and stuff feel a bit rushed or a bit half-baked. So we have the whole idea of the classroom and getting a zero and stuff, but that's discarded fairly early on, and just because the plot goes in a very different focus. The idea of Liz 10 being like 300 years old and the mask is like sculpted to her face. I think that's a really clever kind of setup and payoff. At the end of the day, does that
Doesn't
really need to be a thing? No, she could have just been there for 10 years.
She just needs to be there to push the button at the end.
Yeah, basically. So I think that's a cool concept and could have been an interesting episode in itself, like that whole kind of corruption, but we went for the star whale element instead. Yeah, the adults who actually did get eaten by the star whale, so obviously it doesn't want to starve, so it kind of has to be something. You know, justice for them. How are their families coping? Like, we don't really...
They've forgotten the time.
There's just simply no time for that.
If the families complain, they go straight down the chute as well.
Exactly, yeah, that's it. Well, solves the problem, doesn't it? What are they going to feed it now? They're going to keep feeding it people? I don't know. Where is it going to go? And yeah, just a sense of like what life on the starship is actually like. It would have been cool to get that side of things, but again, that's not what the story ended up being.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like we sort of mentioned, there are a lot of stories you could have here, and it feels like they couldn't pick one to go for, so they went, we'll put bits in for everything. My second negative sort of links to my first one in the fact that it all feels very low key. Like there's no like sense of urgency of, oh my god, we need to get this done quick. We're on a time scale. We need to do all this, blah blah. The only kind of urgency there is when they get thrown up and they have to leave. That's kind of the only time there's any kind of conflict. Other than that, it's, oh, you'll come with us because you're the queen. We work for you, so come with us.
Yeah,
here we go. Here's what
you told us to do. Okay.
And now we're going to sit down and let the doctor do some stuff and not do anything else. There's no need for them to rush. And I know that apparently one of the big criticisms of Chibnall's era has always been, oh, there's loads of countdowns and loads of times and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but that's good. That adds the sense of tension and an urgency to the episode. It makes you think, oh my god, we need to get this done. We need to hurry up, or we're gonna die. There's no like, oh my god, if we don't stop this zappy thing, the star whale's gonna break the ship. They could have added in line saying, the more you torture it, the rougher it gets, and therefore the more likely it is the ship will break apart. I don't know, but it just feels there's no urgency, and the doctor could literally have just gone, okay, bye, I'm leaving, which is what Amy tries to do. She tells herself to do it and then makes no attempts to do it whatsoever. But it's, there's no urgency in this, and I think that's why it also feels a bit flat, is that there's just no emphasis on anything, unfortunately. Oh well, what can you do? Your second negative, what is it?
Amy's realization and the whole flashback montage of her piecing it all together.
Flashback.
Way too much. What are you doing? I love the detail of including the flash to like when she's a little girl and like he kind of notices that she's scared and helps out. That's great. I love that inclusion. Everything else, they just go over it again and again and again.
Don't need to see what was in the episode in a flashback.
Yeah, and Amy just explains it all again anyway, and explains it a couple of times. So yeah, that is just so much, and it's like down your throat. It's like, do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? Especially when then the scene plays out like we still don't understand it yet, and it's like, oh, okay. I'm like, you've just done a whole montage explaining it. I just think it was very choppy and a bit strangely done, like the focus on Amy's eyes and everything, and she's like piecing it all together. Seems weird. I would have just preferred her to like maybe just hear the voices. We didn't need to see like the flashes and stuff, because she had already heard some echoes of it, when she was talking earlier about get the doctor off the ship, blah blah blah. Just doing that again, I think would have worked better and have been a bit more consistent in the episode. So yeah, that was a bit like, oh my goodness, my eyes hurt now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And it is just a bit. We seem to have picked a bone where, if there needs to be a reason for flashbacks to exist in episodes of Doctor Who, and I think the worst case is always when they just show you what has already happened in the episode, because I think it treats the audience that they're a bit thick and that they can't follow what's going on. I know it probably helps children in the audience that might not know what is going on, but as has been mentioned before, is that Doctor Who is often aimed at kids that are more intelligent, I think, than your normal average
then you're dumb kids.
Yeah, and your dumb child. Your child doesn't want to do. You're dumb.
Idiot.
Yeah, how dare you? But it's aimed for kids that have that sort of thought process, and I don't think you need the flashbacks, especially for the same episode. It feels like last episode, maybe, but I don't think you need it. Especially when she's only known the Doctor for a day, so can't necessarily confirm that he is the last of his kind, even though he sort of went, they're all gone, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a big leap for Amy, and thank God she had the flashbacks to go through. My sort of last negative is I think the 11th Doctor was just unnecessarily angry towards Amy. He lashed out, I think, a bit harsh. It's like, oh, you're going home. I'm like, she's done nothing. She hasn't tried to get you away. She's followed you. She's like, she forgot, but you even said that everyone would do that. So I don't know why he's angry at her. I know he's obviously angry at the whole situation, and she just says it so he like lashes out. But I don't think you need that scene where he lashes at her and then do the whole no one human needs to speak to me. You don't need both of them. You just have the one where he lashes out in general. I think it's unnecessary to target her for, as you mentioned, she doesn't make an attempt to say, hey Doctor, why don't we just leave? I don't think blah 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 blah. But even the Doctor's like, yeah, we shouldn't have we shouldn't have stayed. So he agrees that they shouldn't have been there. So I just think it's harsh, and it's just a way of adding in tension between the two characters.
Yeah, it's very full. It's the kind of argument I think it just happens too early between the Doctor and companion. You know, like when the Doctor and Rose have that big fight on Father's Day. That's like halfway through that series. I think that's a more appropriate time for there to be more tension like that in a situation like that. Whereas this does feel a bit like you just want the Doctor to get super angry for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, he does get angry at Rose in End of the World. Like he does. Well, she gets angry at him more than anything, which I think is fairer. He just kind of is more defensive about it. And there are aspects of End of the World in this, in that kind of thing. And then when they're both stood in front of the nicer vista, which is obviously a definite callback. But yeah, it just feels very forced and very constructed that this argument happens between the two of them. Just because it's just very unnecessary. There's just no. It's not like she's constantly going, "Hey, we need to leave. We need to leave. Don't go in here. Don't do this," because she can't even remember why. So she won't. She won't be doing that. But never mind. They're all friends and pally at the end anyway, so it doesn't matter. Again, inconsequential. It doesn't matter. The fact that he was like, "You're going home," is just ignored.
Yeah, it's not like it would be if like everything was fine between the Doctor and Clara at the end of Kill the Moon. But it's not. And that carries on into Mummy and the Orient Express. You know, it would have been like, oh, what was the point of that then? Like most people think, what's the point of that then anyway with Kill the Moon, which is fair. But at least there is like lasting consequences to that, and that builds into like Danny, Clara lying to Danny and stuff. So it's a weird diversion to an episode that's already quite short, really, in the grand scheme of things, and wraps things up so quickly. Just to have things be okay and carry on as normal.
And I mean, you could argue that the Kill the Moon Orient Express sort of link is a sort of making up for this. You know, he sort of learned from the way it felt in this one and sort of did it better in the future. But you know, I still think it's out of place in this one, and I think it just sums up the whole episode. I think where there's this whole argument scene that is just a bit unnecessary and inconsequential, which is probably the episode. Unnecessary and inconsequential.
It's putting everything back in the box, but not that brilliant.
Not very well, no. So what is your final negative?
Yes. The way they do kind of tie into what we talk about, like the audience aren't stupid. I do think they throw the message of the episode in our face a bit too many times. So I thought when Amy gives that speech about, you know, when you're old and kind and the last of your kind, you can't stand to see children cry. You know, she's explaining that, and then she looks at the Doctor at the end, and he has a shot, and it looks like he's realizing it. But then she tells him that again at the end, and like, well, don't you see? It reminds me of you. And I'm like, I thought you explained this to him already. So it was like, do you get it? You get it?
In case you missed it, do you get it?
Do you get it though? You know, the fact that that's literally like 2 scenes in a row, I think that also probably happens where she gives that explanation. I'm like, yeah, we got it. You told us like 3 minutes ago. So, you know, it just seems like, a bit of a messy episode, you know, still trying to have some sort of meaning at the end and try and come together But I think they just went a bit too much with that at the end.
Yeah, I think especially because like you could even argue the whole reason why the Doctor is angry at the treatment of the star whale is because he relates to the star whale and he relates to what the star whale did. So he already has that idea that they're linked, and then for Amy to point it out and then point it out again is just a bit too much, I think. Of all the messages for this episode, that's the one that needs to be included. That hey, you fictional man are the same as this fictional whale. Remember
Yes.
that. My sort of additional negative. Nothing against the child actress because she's fine. But I don't know why she's there. I don't know why she's there.
I've put that as an additional one. Like little girl's presence. I know she's there so Amy has that realization, but like there's already children there that the tentacle could have been nice to. She didn't need to be there. I'm like, why are you here? I thought that like when they're running around with Liz 10 and running away from the smile and stuff, I'm like, why is this girl here? Why would you endanger this girl? Go away.
She's in the background for like the whole of the last act. I don't think she has any other dialogue after they get rescued from the pipe thing.
Yeah, all she says is Timmy. And that's all she gets.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah,
that's it.
You're right.
That's her one line.
And the less said about Timmy, the better.
Help me.
Yeah, I do think that the child actress is unnecessary. Maybe it's the whole if there's a child there, the child viewers feel more related, involved. I don't know, and it plays into the whole, seeing a child. I know why at the start she's in it because you see the crying child, and that's how they get into the story. But other than that, there's no need to. But maybe they just felt she has to stay with them to pay off the end. But then they don't even say bye, crying child. We know you're okay now. They just sort of go.
Yeah.
So never mind. Have you got any other negatives?
I do not think so. No.
Oh, lovely. Well, boy, what an episode, eh? Let's end it. Let's end on a high.
Let's end it.
What fun facts have you got for us?
I have some fun facts. Right, let's have a look. Okay. Let's move that down. Go away, please. Right, okay. A line cut from the episode revealed that there were other nation ships, but Starship UK had sealed off its borders decades prior. So that would have aged lovely. This is the first average length episode of Doctor Who since The Stolen Earth. Thank God.
Isn't it?
Thank
Yeah.
God. It's been so many bloody
It still felt too long. No.
Savage. The red telephone box in the background when the Doctor and Amy arrive on Starship UK is the same prop taken from when they filmed in Ledworth. So they just nicked that, I guess, and shoved it on set. So why not? Okay. Sophie Okonedo, who plays Liz 10, previously voiced Addison, the companion of an alternate Ninth Doctor, played by Richard E. Grant in Scream of the Shalka, for like the anniversary special thing they did years prior. So that's a fun little link. Beginning with this episode, US broadcasts precede the opening credits with a specially recorded monologue spoken by Karen Gillan as Amy, explaining the premise of the series. It also featured in the Netflix versions of the episodes.
I remember seeing that on Netflix, and it's horrible. It's every episode. It's like, stop it.
Yeah. So they stopped after season 5, but I don't know why they bothered at all. The set of the whale's tongue was a challenge for both the cast and the crew. Matt Smith and Karen Gillan had to go down a short slide before dropping 6 feet onto the gross floor. So fun. That looked fun to me. I'd have loved to have done that.
It might be very cold though. That's the problem.
Yeah, cold, sticky,
horrible smell.
Yeah. It probably smelled awful. Many of the logos used on Starship UK are parodies of the BBC logo and idents used in the early 1960s. So enjoy taking the piss out.
Do you get it? Do you get the Big Brother?
Yeah.
Big Brother?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. In the original script, the Doctor and Liz 10 did not meet properly until she rescued him and Amy from the overspill pipe, which probably would have been better.
Yeah.
Liz 10 mentions that the Doctor has tea and scones with Elizabeth II. Matt Smith went on to play Elizabeth's husband, Prince Philip Brown, which is very funny. This is currently the final episode to have featured the middle 8 in the closing credit music. Click in the chat for the middle 8. Miss you forever.
That's best bit of the theme tune.
Yes. This episode was believed to be titled Meddling Monks by fans prior to transmission, speculating that the mischievous Time Lord from the classic series, the Meddling Monk, would make his return. This was shockingly ultimately proved.
Who would have guessed?
Talked themselves into it yet again, and they haven't stopped since. And then finally, Stephen Moffat regarded this as his least favourite episode that he wrote, calling it a bit of a mess. In an Instagram post in 2019, however, he revealed he has since mellowed his opinion, following encouragement from Russell T Davies, who himself is a big fan of the episode, which is very awesome. I love their friendship. It's very awesome. Yeah. So there you go. He doesn't feel quite as bad about it anymore. So well done, Stephen. You can rest now, sir.
I'm glad you can live with this mistake.
I'm glad Russell enjoys it. Unfortunately.
Oh, I know. Oh God. Just thinking of what I wrote during my rewatch. I've got, when it's revealed that Liz 10 is quite old, I've put so many birthdays missed for 300 years.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, what else do you need to get for the Queen, I suppose?
No, I put Timmy's a fucking idiot at the start.
Lazy git.
I don't we don't even know why he got a 0. Is it just because he's not good at school? Is it because he was rude? Is he like a bully? Who knows?
Well, in the target novelization, I'm sure.
Yeah, he'll be a serial killer.
But he killed half the class.
Oh,
all the adults to the Star Whale.
That's what the real problem was. That's why they wouldn't let him in. I appreciate also that the 11th Doctor was effectively trying to push the girl over to get her ID.
Yeah, he just kept bumping into it. Yeah,
took him 4 goes bumping into her. And then the fact that she even noticed it, it's probably just to get him away. Went, oh, fine, and just chucked it on the floor.
Just take my ID for God's sake.
Oh God. But yeah, I put this probably might sum it up. It's very dystopian, but in a child-friendly way.
Yeah.
I think that probably best.
They can't really go there with anything, can they?
No. They almost did when they were like, well, we'll kill everyone if you threaten, if 1% doesn't do it, we'll kill everyone. Yeah. But that's about it. Yeah. Never mind. Out of 10, what are you going to give the episode?
It's fine. And again, there's nothing like I'm pissed off about or annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll just give it a 6. I think I'll be generous.
Nice. I'm going to go for a 5.
Yeah, I much prefer it to Lazarus Experiment, and I gave that a 5.
That's true.
I think that's incredibly flawed, so I'll just give it a 6.
Yeah, I think. See, this is the thing is I can't remember what I gave Lazarus Experiment at this point. But for a 5.5 for this, I think because it just doesn't feel. There's just no tension, no like there's no action really. I think that's what I'm
there's
more
no substance
about.
To it.
No, and at least with the Lazarus Experiment, there is action and there's something that keeps you hooked. It goes on too long, Lazarus Experiment. There's basically a whole third act that doesn't need to be there. Yeah. But I kind of would rather that and have something more and have a little bit more depth than just have this. If that makes sense.
You'd rather have a Russell T Davies episode than a Moffat?
Who would have guessed, eh?
Who'd have guessed that?
Did Russell even write Lazarus?
I hope not.
No.
For his sake, I hope not.
Doesn't matter, does it?
I don't Phil Ford comes to mind.
But I mean, this probably is definitely Stephen Moffat's weakest episode that he's written so far. Of his 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes, this is probably his weakest.
Yeah.
But that's not hard when the others are Empty Child, Doctor Dances, Blink.
Yeah,
and
a good
Science Library, Forest of the Dead. Yeah,
just to make an average episode as a showrunner, I think is quite impressive, really.
Yes, yeah. So that leads us on to what we'll be covering next week, which is Victory of the Daleks. I think it is of the Daleks.
Yeah,
with notoriously unproblematic Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Let's see how that goes down. Yeah. Obviously, it's pretty explanatory what will happen next week. Daleks are back. They are working for the British government until the Doctor's tricked into giving them power. Whoopsie daisy. What do you remember of the episode that isn't the nice, shiny, colourful Daleks?
I remember the really cool green Dalek design.
That's true. Great. Yeah.
I remember Bracewell. They have to turn him on to save the day, which is fun.
Yeah, basically they have to turn him on to turn him off.
Exactly. Yeah. But I remember really liking this episode. I don't even like the colourful Daleks. Are it was a choice. I think design-wise they're fine. It's just the colours were wrong for the most part. But I will defend the Daleks. I must say I do like their redesign. And yeah, this it's good fun. This one. I remember I got the Series 5 box set for my birthday. And I was allowed, because it's my birthday, I was allowed to watch whatever I wanted on TV all day. I put Victory of the Daleks on.
All day? To one episode all day.
I will not turn this off until you can quote this by heart back to me, Father. But yeah, it's just an episode I've always found myself quite enjoying, I think. You know, it was fun to have the Daleks back in like a different kind of design to the gold that we'd seen with like the Ironsides and stuff. And, you know, are they good? Are they bad? Blah, blah, blah. All of that good stuff. You know, this is Amy in the outfit that you see all the promotional material of her in. Everything was this outfit. And yeah, it's also, I think they kind of start laying the foundations of the whole Crack in Time properly with this one as well, because Amy can't remember who the Daleks are. So it's kind of sowing the seeds for that arc, which then obviously plays out in Time of Angels 2-part as well. So yeah, I think it's a good time. Again, far from the best episode, far from the best Dalek story. But it is one I'm looking forward to revisiting, even if it's just for the would you care for some tea line.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think again, it's been a while since I've seen most of series 5, so I'm excited to go back and watch this one. I remember the Spitfires in space. I think that hopefully I'm not bigging that up more than it is. I remember the poor worker girl whose boyfriend dies, and it's brushed under the rug pretty quick. Because I'll just keep doing your job, love. Thanks. Bye. I remember the Doctor threatening the Daleks with jammy dodgers. I also quite appreciate that. And yeah, I think this also is a good place to show Matt Smith's range as the Doctor as well, because obviously he gets irrationally angry at the Daleks, and this feels more like episode 2 than this one. There are stakes in this one.
Yeah, it does make me laugh when people just like, oh, Matt Smith was like the weird, kooky, light-hearted Doctor. I'm like, do you remember his first few episodes? He gets so angry all the time. Like,
he was going to kill a star whale.
He was going to kill a star whale.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping it'll be good. I'm almost 90% sure it will be better than this week's. I can never be 100% sure because you never know. But I'm pretty sure that it will be better than this week's. But you know, we will see. We'll probably be back in the middle of the week with something else to do with Doctor Who. I'm not quite decided what it'll be yet, whether it's theories or rumours or set. Who knows? We'll have a look at what's currently being discussed. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Do they even exist anymore? Do Doctor Who BuzzFeed quizzes even exist anymore? Who knows?
They have archives. I'm looking at them.
God, could you imagine? What Doctor Who alien are you?
This quiz will reveal which Doctor Who companion you are. There you go. Oh, this is from 2021.
Oh, there we go.
Choose a colour. Oh, we're off to a good start. Well, I must save that.
Yes, we'll do that at some point.
Doctor Who life you create will reveal which Doctor you are.
Oh God, no.
Oh my God. Pertwee or bust,
please. Yeah, the Chad Doctor.
The Chad Doctor.
But yes, that is it for this week. We'll be back in the week and next weekend for plenty more Doctor Who, I'm sure. Yeah, that's it. Goodbye.
Bye.